Welcome, everybody. This is Out of the Silence, and I'm here with my husband, Renee Stephens, and we're just gonna talk about everything that's been going on. We used to do this at Rally. We would just free talk, so that's what we're gonna do tonight, and just kind of let everybody in on what's been going on around here since we've been charged and beat the charges and stuff like that. So I don't know, Renee, if you want to chime in.
Yeah. So.
It's been a rough time, and now we're just trying to sort out what our plans are next moving forward, because doing this is very different than doing Rally, obviously. So
When we were protesting, obviously this is different energy, and we were a lot more, I felt, engaged, or it seemed like we were engaging more people out on the streets, but now we're here. It seems strange to be, just doing input and receiving no output. So
yeah, everything that we're doing right now has kind of moved online, and some people have asked if we're gonna start protesting again, and I just don't see where that would be productive. Obviously the leadership knows we're out here, and they are responding the way they're responding right now. And I think a big part of their response is they just don't want to acknowledge what happened here, because a lot of high level people got involved with it.
And they did some extremely irresponsible things. So that's one of the things that I really want to address, is the irresponsibility of our government. We have been, witnessing this, experiencing it, and we're really not seeing anybody talk about just how irresponsible these people are. But when you're looking around the city and you're scratching your head thinking, wow, why does it look this bad? It's because we have very irresponsible people running the city.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a very hard lesson that we've gotten. And I mean, honestly, ever since what happened to Kadira, I mean, the behavior I feel like we've seen, pretty much on the inside in the sense that, we've been engaging with a lot of public officials, judges and law enforcement officials and stuff, and just their behavior towards our situation is so shockingly below the bar. That's the only thing that I can say. And it seems to me that, everybody that I've run into in government is just poorly trained and unable to respond to at least our situation. And I think that is why really the city of Portland has continued to go downhill, because for some reason, and I think my husband would agree with me, like, these people seem to feel entitled to this behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems like, and because these people have been unwilling to really talk to us directly, and it's interesting too, because when you listen to the direct communications that we have had with the leadership in the past, law enforcement, even the medical community, they're not intelligible. These people don't they don't sound like they know what's going on. They don't, and it's actually, it's irrational.
I would definitely say that's the experience I'm having as well, which worries me, because if they can't address our issue, this is who, we as citizens have essentially hired to address every issue in the city. And so looking around and seeing that the city is absolutely 100% failing, and getting worse by the minute, really. But it doesn't surprise me, that's for sure.
It's not just on a local level, though. We're looking at the national and global leadership at this point. And if this is how these people behave, this is the reason why, I would venture to say humanity is failing at this point.
Well, I mean, we just don't have people in charge that are serious about actually, I feel like, taking care of people. I just feel like they're constantly, what they're concerned about, all I've experienced is that they are just concerned about their money, and they're concerned about their reputation to the degree that they will work to cover up terrible things that they've done, but they're not interested in actually changing their behavior. So
no.
And I feel like, our family, we are not the only people here in Portland who are experiencing this. So, but it's interesting because it's just been really difficult to get people to kind of pay attention to what's happening over here. And I think that has a lot to do with, just how our story kind of has been treated by the media and then kind of rolled out to the public, via our protest. So,
that's also another irresponsible aspect, is the media. Obviously, the media has the power to dictate, or drive public opinion. And that's how these people use it. The people in power seem to be using the media as a weapon against the public. It's not a tool. It should be a tool for the public so we can understand our circumstances better, so we can solve problems better, as a people. But that's not how our media is being used. Our media has been weaponized, and it's been weaponized against us. And,
And I want to say that I think we can really see that here in Portland, because it's just like, we are the protests that never got any media coverage. And, we are the protesters that actually were charged with crimes, and we've been in the court system for 11 months, which was really tough. Yeah, we were in the court system.
And these people really put us through it. Like, they were trying to emotionally destabilize us, and it was very scary, and it was really, this is not something that I think that anyone, especially someone who's seeking justice, should experience. But this is what these people were trying to do.
Yeah, and they knew that we didn't have a lot of support from the public. So, when they were coming at us, we were primarily just alone with our kids, and the prosecutors, they were really, especially in the beginning, even up until we got the case dismissed, they were really trying to come down on us like we were really going to be going to jail for 10 years. And I think that was really tough on our entire family. So, just the whole year of struggling through that, and this is our leadership, having to wrap our minds around that they would be doing this to us, and we didn't do anything wrong except for, try to get an investigation into what happened to Kadira.
And what happened to Kadira was a pretty straightforward thing when you look at it from the legal perspective. The people that harmed our daughter, they committed a crime. Now, there were strict, laws, protocols, procedures that were supposed to go into place, or that were supposed to activate as soon as we brought Kadira into the hospital. But they didn't. One of my biggest questions, and why I think the public should be asking for, a federal level investigation into, how our system completely disintegrated, basically, around Kadira, is how did these people? How was this? There seems to be some kind of backdoor underground system that the people in power can activate whenever they commit crimes.
Right.
And this needs to be exposed, because it's putting not just us at risk, but the entire public at risk. So this is a very dangerous circumstance, and people do not understand the weight of how serious this kind of failure is.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand the weight because I think that a lot of times, these failures are not being exposed, but we have an opportunity here in Portland to actually expose, such a failure, because that's truly what happened in this case. And I mean, now that we have Kadira's medical records, because we finally did get those from OHSU and Emmanuel, we have a better picture of what happened with the medical neglect, and because she was medically neglected for 4 years at OHSU. And in a way, it continues the medical neglect because even though they saved her life at Emmanuel when she went into diabetic ketoacidosis, all of these health problems that she has from this untreated burn have continued to persist, and the burn just never got addressed.
It didn't get addressed at all. And what she needs now is coordinated care with the consideration that she was burned, severely burned as a child, and it was never treated.
Right.
But that's not what she's getting.
Right, because all the health care she gets now, it's like a Band-Aid for this issue, a Band-Aid for that issue, and I mean, so on and so forth. And
they're not being looked at holistically.
Yeah, and just the fact that, we're in this situation where, she is having all these health issues and she needs, much better care now. I mean, it is very, very frustrating that I feel like that we're in this situation where we have to have this petition actually to get a federal investigation, because that's just so crazy to me. Yeah, that we have to have a petition to
actually activate, the government. And I don't think that people realize, and we didn't even realize it, that the government actually works for us. The government is actually supposed to be employees of the public. Yeah, they're not private entities. They can't just do whatever they want. They are subject to the Constitution and all the laws that are set forth by Congress and the legislature. So, and that's all done for the sake of the people. So our government is way off base. They are way off base. I don't know who they're serving, but it looks like they're just serving money. That's what it looks like, but that's not what they are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. And in our case, I mean, we've just experienced that over and over, where we're going to these agencies where we should be able to get services, and we're getting no services at all. And I have to say, I feel like, they've left us with no options. And I mean, because we're pacifists, we just keep looking for a peaceful resolution to this. And I think that that's going to come from the public being more engaged and more interested in their own rights. Because I mean, honestly, if they can do this to us, they can do this to anybody.
And they probably are, they have, because this is not a one-off. This is the system that we were exposed to is a streamlined system, which means it was developed and it's been practiced. So this is a very, very scary thing for the public, and something that we all really should be extremely concerned about, because these people, they know how to manipulate.
Yeah, anyone. I have to say with Kadira's case, what's just so just crazy is, after she was burned, we took her to, the hospital quite a few times, a lot of times. And, we were having contact with different doctors who were all on the same page in terms of not treating her, and that happened at OHSU, and that happened very seamlessly. And I think it's interesting because right now we have this legacy merger, Legacy, Emmanuel, and OHSU merger supposed to be happening, and yet there's this case of what we are alleging, which is that OHSU medically neglected our daughter for 4 years, and up until she almost died, and no conversation. We're not going to have any conversation about that. I just think that is very, very interesting, and I don't think that it's okay that we're not having that conversation. So,
no, not at all. I mean, we're going to now. We have tried in the past. I think that things are a little bit different now that we actually have Kadira's records, and we know a little bit more about what actually happened. But it's taken us, when we were initially filing our pro se lawsuits, we didn't have the whole picture, and we still don't have the whole picture. We need the ability to talk to these people directly without them clamming up and pretending like they have something to hide. They need to be honest with us, and they need to be honest with the public about why they did this and how they did it.
And yeah, exactly what happened here, because we need to make sure that something like this never happens again. And the public doesn't understand, I think, how far we've taken Kadira's case. Maybe for people who have read my book, but even there, I don't think that I've detailed out everything. I mean, we have fought so hard to get her case looked at, and what we've consistently been told is, oh, this is just some accident. Pretty much, those are the words they want to use. But interestingly enough, after we won our recent case, we did get some police notes, and in those notes, essentially what they're trying to say is that when Kadira was 8 years old, she said it was an accident, so therefore it's an accident. And they don't even want to acknowledge the fact that she wasn't treated at the hospital. Nobody wants to acknowledge the medical neglect, and I mean, we're going to have to do that.
We're going to have to talk about it. So, FYI though, it is not up to the child to determine whether or not they were the victim of a crime, or whether or not that it was an accident that they were subjected to. So once again, in talking with the authorities, it's irrational for them to say such a thing. But this is what they were telling us. This is what they were actually using in order to, kind of dismiss our concerns. Not to mention, in these notes, these police notes, they say that, that Kadira was interviewed many times, but there are specific ways that an abused child is supposed to be interviewed, and it is not just by whoever.
Right. I mean, Kadira was interviewed once by a hostile attorney. I mean,
in front of her abuser.
In front of her
abuser. So she could have been coerced to, and these people had her for hours after she was burned. So we don't know what they got her to understand about how she got hurt.
And we don't even know actually what time she was burned. I mean, there's so much we don't know about that. But it's also, again, interesting because we still don't know all these things. And, you have law enforcement here just standing back like it's their right to do that.
But it's not. It's not their right.
Yeah, they're treating basically the police and the feds and the U.S. Attorney's Office at all these places we've gone looking for an investigation. They're treating this like they're treating us like they are private entities and that we're coming to them for help, but they don't have to help us because they're private entities. But they're not. They're public entities.
They're public entities. The U.S. Attorney works for the American public.
Right.
So the U.S. Attorney is not a private organization. So a lot of these people, even the mayor and our local government, these people work for the citizens. They work for the public. They are not private entities, but they are behaving as though they are private entities.
Yeah, to me it's just crazy because it's just you have to wonder why we just cannot understand why they're even doing this to our family, or how really we got mixed up into this, because a lot of it I realize does not make any sense, but I mean it's still happening regardless. And I mean, for me, I was born and raised in Portland. So it's like this is happening in my hometown and in the neighborhood that I was raised in. And the more I try to make sense of it, the less it makes sense, in the sense that it still continues to be, primarily ignored. So,
folks, it is on the public. It is up to us to hold these, governing bodies accountable. And if we don't, then in terms of what they're capable of, in regards to their capability to harm the public, that just grows.
Well, yeah, and I think especially in this case, I mean, we have proof that these doctors lied. They lied to our faces about Kadira's health. They knew that she was in internal distress. They knew she could die at any time. I mean, there are blood tests. I mean, there's the information in the medical records is truly undeniable.
It's scant.
Right.
But it's there.
Right. I mean, there's enough information. They definitely collected enough information, and they did enough tests where they definitely knew that she was in severe internal distress. I mean, and that they knew they weren't treating her burn. So the fact that happened at OHSU, and OHSU is a research hospital. I mean, they get a lot of public funds. I mean, I think that needs to be investigated, and I don't know why anybody wouldn't want it investigated, simply because of, I don't know why people are struggling with this, but we're just regular everyday Portlanders, and I mean we need answers. Well, we still are, I mean, in a lot of ways, except for this happened to us.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate too, because people kind of treat us like we're something else now, like we're not regular people. We don't get engagement from our community as though we were,
not like we were the victims of a crime.
Well,
I mean, that's what happened
not
here.
Just that, but there is definitely a stigma when you are the victim of crime. So that's one thing. But what we were a victim of is literally governmental and authoritative corruption, and that puts you in a whole other, kind of like Twilight Zone category, where people they kind of glitch out around you.
Yeah, and I honestly think too, for Portland, just the city of Portland, and especially in this neighborhood, I mean, I feel that the entire neighborhood was victimized, honestly, by the government here, because Kadira's case has always been like, just, there was never any privacy. I mean, Sophie got up the next day, went and told everybody what happened. There's just been so much gossip about this, and our trauma, we've really, worn it on our sleeve, essentially. So because of that, everybody kind of has always known what's going on. And so we have definitely, I feel like there has been there has been a stigma attached to this thing. And it's weird, because it's like we live here and it's like a big thing, but it's not a thing at all at the
right.
same time.
It's like, it's a very hush-hush thing. Nobody wants to talk about it. And that's a very dangerous thing, because, like I said before, it's really up to the public, and not just me and my wife. It's not just up to us to hold these people accountable. It is up to our entire community. It is up to the city. It is up to every single person in the state that knows that this happened, to hold the authorities accountable for how they behaved in this manner.
Right, because if we don't hold them accountable, then they just think that what they did here is okay. And I do think that they think that for some reason they feel that they should be allowed to get away with this. And for some reason, I feel like, as vocal as, I know I've been on social media, I feel like for some reason, I don't know, the public still is shying away from this issue. And what we're really asking for, I just want people to know, is we're really asking for a full and fair federal investigation. And I realize that we're asking, our public officials to investigate themselves in a very public, open way, full transparency, because a lot of high-level people did get involved in this cover-up. And they did a lot of wrong things, and I think we need to explore why, exactly why this happened. Because...
And how?
Yeah, it really, really makes no sense the lengths they have gone to cover this up. And so I think it's important to understand why they would do something like that.
And once again, folks, my wife and I, we have gone to the media. We have gone to just all kinds of various outlets, different levels of the media, national, local. We've gone to fringe groups. Nobody is covering this. You are not hearing about this anywhere, and that should really scare you.
Yeah, it is very odd. I mean, well, I don't want to say scare, but I think that you should be appropriately concerned.
You should be concerned.
I don't want anybody to have fear in this situation, because I think it's just...
There's no reason for fear.
Yeah, we just need to... What we are looking for very much is just a conversation, and I think it's really interesting because, Portland...
You can be shocked, though.
Well, Portland will cover any protest except for this protest. That's what I think is interesting. And we have so many protests in Portland, and for some reason we've remained bottom of the barrel and we can't get any coverage. And I mean, why not talk about this? Let's just talk about what happened here, and let's try to figure out what happened. And I mean, it's a local issue. It really confuses me why we cannot have a conversation about a local issue here in Portland. This is a serious local issue because we have really poor leadership in Portland. And, if they're going to do something like this, then it's just time to clean house and try to cover it up.
Yeah. And it seems like a lot of their time, energy, and resources have been geared towards making sure this is covered up instead of dealing with it.
Yeah, and that just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, because at the end of the day, we have, Kadira, who really, really needs, like we said, coordinated medical care. And if people wonder, I mean, all this time, it's been 17 plus years now, and people, I've many times have asked, like, why are we still doing this? Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Kadira has a lot of medical problems from this, and more cropping up every year, because burns are such complicated injuries, and she didn't get any treatment, and she's really lucky to be alive. But on the other side of that is that she has a ton of pressing medical issues. I mean, it's a very long list. I mean, and just even getting her medical records recently, I mean, her medical records are like over 1,200 pages long, and that we haven't even collected them all. So just imagine being 25, and I mean, she's battling a lot, and she can't sit here, with no resources, no apology, no nothing, and for what? Because, the police and DHS want to say that she said it was an accident when she was 8 years old. Like, that is the most ridiculous thing ever. Yeah. Also, she never said that.
No, she never said that. So, and these people never even talked to the people that harmed her.
Well, yeah, and the thing is second graders don't understand intent. They don't know nothing about what is an accident and what is intentional. That is a very mature concept. Okay, that is why we have mandatory reporters who are trained actually to identify child abuse, because it's not easy, to just identify the signs and figure out what has happened, when a child is injured. Okay?
But that is also an extremely great responsibility, and it's a powerful place to be in when you're analyzing abused children. Let's just say, that if there are people in the medical system who are okay with being asked to, disregard cases of abuse when they see it come across them, we don't have a safe medical system, and it wasn't just doctors, it was attorneys, judges, police officers, teachers, every social workers, every single person that looked at Kadira never once called the police. And then when we finally got to the police, because my wife and I had to, report it directly to them, then they're trying to pretend like, oh, nothing happened here. They didn't even want to take a report.
Right. So, and this was all just detrimental to Kadira's health all this time. And, and we're still wrestling with that to this day. Just to think we're sitting here in America, we're supposed to have all these rights, and here, we're sitting here, we can't even use, the police station for anything. Because every time we've ever made a report, they just don't take anything seriously. No. We're just really treated.
They don't investigate anything.
Yeah, we're treated like second class citizens.
But I don't think that we're the only ones, actually. And I've heard, it's. Maybe there's a reason why they like to keep the law enforcement resources here so down and so tight, because maybe they don't really want all the crimes that they are committing against the people to be investigated. And hey, having low resources when it comes to law enforcement, that's a good reason to not investigate crimes that the people in power are committing, potentially.
I also think it's interesting that here in Portland especially, that so much it gets spent on policing, the protests, because, we never required any police down at our protests, but our protests never got any media attention. So I just feel like, why do I feel like the protests that, do get violent, do get crazy, whatever, they're the ones that the media is always, pushing pretty much, oh, this protest happened. And I guess it's because they go violent, but then you always have the police down there, engaging. And Portland spends so much money policing these protests, but they just refuse to even cover ours, which they never had to police ours, except for, when they came down and decided to shut us down, which that didn't require anything except for handing us a slip of paper, and then they charged us with crimes, and then we were off the street. I just think it's really interesting how it's always, the crazy protests or whatever that get all the attention, and how, there was really no rewards for our protest. I feel like
yeah, because media attention is that's essentially an accolade of, that's what protests are mainly seeking, is attention, and so that they can draw attention to the issue that they're bringing up. And you're right, honey, that we didn't get any of that.
No, and not even now, and not even after winning our case or anything. And, I just think it's interesting every time there's recently they just had Wear Orange Day or whatever for promoting ending gun violence or whatever. We're never invited to any of that kind of stuff. And yet we did run a peaceful protest for 2.5 years, and we're still advocating for a peaceful solution to what we've experienced and what Kadira has experienced. So I just don't understand why the leadership doesn't want to engage on that, and why it seems like the public continues to struggle with getting involved with our cause, essentially. But I do think that's changing. We're starting to get some signatures on the petition. We were at 107 signatures last time that I looked at it. And so I just think the more we stay at it, the closer we will get to an actual solution. So. And,
I completely agree with, my wife's stance on that. We are dedicated, and since the people that are in charge are not being responsible, it is up to us, the public, to be responsible. And so that's what we're going to do. And that's why we met these people in court. We didn't want to run away. And, you know, I have to say this, you know, we have not found one attorney with any integrity in this during the entire time we've been going through this, and the entire time that, you know, we were fighting, that we have been fighting for justice, whether it was, you know, trying to hold these people that harmed Kadira accountable, or whether it was defending ourselves. You know, the system is set up so that, you know, the legal community can kind of lock you out of your own rights. There is kind of a way to sidestep that. You know, you could go pro se, but the way that is discouraged is actually appalling, because it really does take people, you know, grabbing a hold of their own rights and asserting them to make them mean anything. So if there's always some kind of intermediary between you and your rights, you don't actually have any rights. And that's what one of the lessons that I learned in terms of, you know, they've made the legal system so complicated and so scary and so intimidating that, you know, you feel like you can't engage it on your own. You know, like you need some help. And, you know, there's that one saying, a person who has themselves for an attorney is a fool, or something like that. Yeah. That couldn't be farther from the truth. That is a saying that is meant to discourage people from grabbing hold of their rights and using them. And if we don't know anything about our rights, if we are not willing as a public to go assert them, we are not free. We are not free. Right. Because our rights happen in the courts. And if we're not in the courts, and folks, every single time we've been in the courts, there's nobody in the courtrooms. Yeah. The public is not in the courtrooms. All you have is your attorneys, your judges, and then the people who are being charged with crimes. Right. Or, you know, and that is a terrible equation, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you start going and sitting in courtrooms, you will just see that the judges and attorneys they don't take anything seriously. I'm sorry. It's really terrible once you start going into the courtrooms and realizing that, you know, yeah, we have this. I think we have a really good system, actually, but I don't think it functions because people are not civically engaged, and we don't need, you know, all these attorneys. We need people, you know, understanding how to use the court and engaged in the process. And I'm not saying that, you know, we need to get rid of attorneys altogether, but right now, the way that field is operating, I mean, I was just saying on TikTok earlier today, I think I was just talking about the movie The Devil's Advocate, and that's really what the attorneys have become. Because I just think it's shocking that me and my husband, my daughter, and then, you know, I have been talking about Christina as well, you know, that none of us can, you know, get representation. I mean, I think that just speaks volumes about, you know, where our system is at right now. And it's shocking to me, you know, the lengths that the government has really gone to cover up what happened to our daughter. And, you know, we're just sitting over here wanting to get her, you know, the right type of medical care. And it has really turned into this massive journey. So anyway, I definitely wanted to get on here and do a podcast tonight. You know, I'm still new at this, but hopefully me and my husband can get on here more and do this. So, honey, is there anything else you want to add? I think we should wrap it up. Yeah. No, not... For now, you know, we are on this path of trying to hold, you know, our authorities accountable. And it's really hard because people don't want to get involved. It's almost like they don't want this sorted out. They don't They'd rather, I don't know, how a broken system is benefiting the public, but, I don't think it is. But there's enough, it seems like there's enough people who are, for lack of a better word, comfortable with the way things are, that they think that it is their luxury to not be involving themselves in what is happening or what happened to us. But folks, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know it is extremely important for us to not be afraid. And I'm sorry that I was using the word scared. You should be concerned, but we should not be afraid to engage our system.
No.
We should not be afraid to stand up for our rights and to use them and to assert them. We should not be afraid to hold the authorities and the people who that we have elected accountable for engaging in criminal behavior and activity. And if there are irresponsible people who are in positions of authority, they need to be weeded out. We need to know who these people are, and we need to make sure that they can't harm anybody anymore, because they have proven to us that they are willing to harm the most vulnerable among us. And it's not okay. Like I said again, we are not free. We are not free unless we are willing to continue to fight, for, our rights.
And a better future, I think, for everybody. And not just here in Portland and in Oregon, but, everywhere. But we need to start here. And again, that's what I want to keep coming back to is, what we have here is a local issue. And we're just hoping to get more eyes on it as time goes on. And that's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we've set up the social media. And that's why we are really working hard to get signatures to get a federal investigation. So, I guess we'll see where this effort goes. We're just going to keep at it. It's going to take as long as it takes. And I think that's it for this program.
Yeah, that's it for this program. But we will be back, folks. We are not going to leave you alone. We are going to continue to stand up for you, because that's what we are doing.
And I think actually, because just doing this program tonight really reminds me of Rally, although it was kind of different, I have to admit, but I think we're going to run with it. But I think we will end with what we used to end with at Rally,
Absolutely.
Which is, I am the value.
Yeah, and the statement goes like this, and if you're listening to the show, folks, it's important that you actually make this affirmation, because this is really the armor that will protect you from all the corruption and the horrible things that are happening and that we are actually allowing to go on right now to the people. So it goes like this, folks.
Wait, hold on a minute. I wouldn't say that we're allowing. I think that it's just we need to turn our attention more to what is going on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like I said, the lack of engagement...
Right, the lack of engagement
is evidence that we are allowing
right.
this behavior to not only continue or persist, but we are allowing it to strengthen.
Right, and that is very, very true. But I think that once people start paying attention to the fact that that is what is happening, I think we can change that. And I just wanted to put that
absolutely out there. It's absolutely
put a positive twist on it. Okay, so
here's how it goes, folks. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value.
You are the value.
We are the value.
We are the value. I am the value.
I am the value.
You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. I am the value. You are the value. We are the value. Okay, good night, everybody. See you next week.